I lived in the same little town my entire life. We moved here when I was very young. As soon as we moved in, the family next door introduced themselves. They had a son named Peter who was my age, but the complete opposite of me. Peter was always outgoing and sporty, while I was shy and preferred to stay home. Nevertheless, we became the closest friends ever. When we didn't have school, we spent every waking minute together. We always got teased by kids at school. They said we were in love and all that cheesy stuff kids like to say at a certain age. Peter made them shut up, but I didn't exactly mind because in my case, it was true. I always liked him as much more than a friend. Even back when I thought relationships consisted of only hand-holding and cheek kisses, I always loved how close we were. But that all changed when we got to middle school. The first few weeks of middle school, Peter and I still talked. We biked to school together every day and biked home together as well. But then he started going to school earlier than I did and coming home much later than I did. I didn't think anything of it at the time. We still talked at school. Then he stopped talking to me at school. I passed him in the hallways and said hi, but he barely nodded in my direction. Then he even stopped nodding. He became one of the popular kids, the jocks and the cheerleaders. It was such a cliche, yet nobody but me seemed to mind. Now, I wasn't completely alone without Peter. When you sit at the back of the class, you get to know the people who sit near you, avoiding eye contact with the teacher. I made two best friends, Lainey and Beth. They were like me, quiet, sort of shy, and were always down to skip PE with me. Then we went to high school. I had grown used to Peter being cold and distant. At this point, he didn't look at me. A few weeks into our freshman year, he stopped ignoring me, but in a bad way. I remember exactly how it happened. I was walking down the hall in between classes and didn't notice there was a hole in my sweatpants. I guess his goons must have been looking for a target, someone to make fun of, and they found me and my ancient sweats. Poor little Jenny is so poor she can't even afford a new pair of sweatpants. One of the boys with Peter sneered as I walked past. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That had never happened to me. They usually didn't even see me. I checked the back of my pants, and very high up my thigh, there was a hole at the stitching of my pants. I did notice they were getting tighter, but I didn't expect them to rip. I looked at them in horror and embarrassment and made eye contact with Peter, sort of asking him to make them shut up for old time's sake. But he didn't. He smirked at me, an evil-looking smirk. Of course her pants are ripping. You can't put holes on a pig and expect them not to rip. Peter mocked me. Peter's words really hurt. I just bowed my head and walked away. That was only the beginning. Every single day they did something to me. They knocked books out of my hands, pulled on my backpack, made me trip in the middle of a packed hallway, and one time one of the girls opened a locker door on my face, which left a pretty nasty bruise on my forehead. After about a year and a half of dealing with the pack, as everyone called them, I decided to try and stop it. Summer break was just around the corner, so might as well, right? I wrote a long paragraph to Peter through text. In the paragraph, I asked him why he treated me like that, why he let his friends treat me like that. I asked what happened to the boy that used to be my best friend in the whole world. I told him he was making me miserable at school and that even though he didn't do most of the teasing, his hurt the most. Because I liked him so much. Because I put him on a pedestal when we were kids, and now he treated me like garbage. I told him everything I felt. Absolutely everything. What he did next showed me that there wasn't a single trace of the boy that was my best friend left in Peter. He took screenshots of the messages I sent him and posted them everywhere online for the whole school and the whole town to see. Not only that, but he apparently went through the trouble of finding the worst childhood pictures of me that he could find and posted those too, but not before cropping himself out of them. If the pictures and screenshots didn't hurt enough, the comments he added to them hurt enough to make me cry. Bold of her to assume I care, he wrote under a picture of the part where I told him he hurt my feelings. She really thinks she has a chance with me? Me? He wrote under my confession of always having had feelings for him. I knew some people grew down, but this is extreme. He wrote under a very unflattering picture of me as a kid, next to a very unflattering picture of me now. I was thankful school was nearly over, because I couldn't show my face at school after this. I stayed home the rest of the semester. I felt horrible. Suddenly, I couldn't stand even looking at myself in the mirror. I hid in my room. I couldn't even face my parents. After a few days of staying at home, there was a knock on my door and my friends walked in. They asked me if I was okay and got me up to speed on everything happening at school. Peter's even more popular now. Everyone not only respects him, but they're afraid he'll do the same to them. My friend Beth said to me, "You need to get back at him. Yeah, you need to finally knock him down a few notches. Really hurt his ego." Lainey said, "How could I possibly do that? He's perfect in every single way that people care about." I said, "Lainey watched enough movies to know exactly what I had to do." Over the next few days, we made a schedule. I had workout routines, meal plans, hair salon appointments, and planned shopping trips. I was gonna turn my life around. 2 months into summer break, I looked like a completely different person. I wore makeup now, I had highlights in my hair, and my nails were always done. I switched out my boyish, unflattering clothes for figure-hugging dresses and tops. And after 2 months of eating well and working out every day, even the pants I ripped at school were loose. I felt like a completely different person, and I loved it. I was finally confident and loved looking in the mirror. My mom was ecstatic the first time she saw me in my new clothes. She always hoped I'd eventually stop looking like I hadn't slept in weeks. The next step of the plan was the most daunting one. Beth and Lainey came over to my house. We went on my laptop and started making new accounts on every social media platform we could think of, using my middle name, Olivia, and my mom's maiden name, Williams. We added and followed most people from school on the new account, the last one being Peter. They took pictures of me looking amazing, but not showing my face, and we posted them. Everyone and their mother started following me, and suddenly I understood why people were so obsessed with social media. It felt good. Then I texted Peter, "Hey, my name's Olivia. A cousin of mine goes to your school, and she gave me a bunch of people to follow on here. She also told me you're the biggest catch in the school." I wrote. It took a few moments for him to reply. "Hey, girl," he wrote with a winky face. "Damn right I am. And by the looks of it, you must be the biggest catch at your school." I gagged. "Not for long," I replied. "I'm transferring to your school after summer break." "Oh yeah? Can't wait. I can show you a good time here," he wrote with another winky face. I was nauseous. Girls really fell for this? I like to think I only ever liked him because we never texted. No way I would have been into this douchebag. Over the next few weeks, he texted me every single day. I didn't even have to start the conversation. He did all the work for me. Though to be fair, why wouldn't he want to text me? I actually had a personality, unlike him. Not only that, but I sprinkled in some facts about myself, like my favorite basketball team, my favorite food, things like that. But they were actually his favorite basketball team and his favorite food. I made Olivia into the perfect girl for him. They had everything in common. Being the Peter that he is, he always asked for pictures, revealing pictures. I sent them, but they had nothing that could link me to them. He also sent pictures to me. I wanted to bleach my eyes after what I saw every time he sent me pictures of himself. Nasty stuff. Sometimes we texted until 3 in the morning. That's when he got sentimental. The amount of stuff he was willing to tell a total stranger was surprising. He was clearly not the brightest. Soon enough, it was time to go back to school. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow," he texted me before bed. "I'll wear a yellow sundress so you can recognize me from far away," I replied with a winky face. Now he had me using them too. The next day, I was standing with my head basically inside my locker. I could hear people whispering around me, some wondering who I was, others saying I was Olivia, the new girl. Then I felt a tap on my shoulder, and as soon as I turned around, I had big arms around me and my face pressed against someone's chest. "I can't believe you're actually here," Peter laughed with his face buried in my hair. At one point, this would have made my knees weak, but now I was just uncomfortable. "Peter, let go! You're squishing me," I said as I wiggled out of his arms and fixed my dress. Then I looked up to see a look of complete shock on his face. "Jenny?" he exclaimed in disbelief. "Actually, I go by Olivia now," I said as I shut my locker and walked to class. For the rest of the day, I could hear people talking about me everywhere I went, and it was amazing. I could feel Peter's eyes on me during class, and I could tell he was following me through the halls. He tried to talk to me loads of times, but I always pretended like I didn't see or hear him. Beth and Lainey could hardly contain their laughter at his stupid face. A week later, I saw he was mowing the lawn of his house, so I spontaneously decided to wash my mom's car. In a swimsuit, obviously. He nearly ran the lawnmower over his poor dog. Then he came up to me, and with sweat rolling down his forehead, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I know I did some horrible things to you in the past, but please forgive me. I don't know why I did all those things. I guess I let my friends influence me. But there's a thin line between love and hate, right? He had the audacity to say. It was hard keeping a straight face when all I wanted to do was burst out laughing, or tackle him to the ground and try my hardest to beat him up. But I contained myself and said, sure. After 3 weeks of dating, I was honestly sick of him. He was the blandest person I had ever met. He had no personality at all. Plus, he was still a douchebag. Beth, Lainey, and I decided to keep our distance from each other at school to see what happened, and he really knocked their books out of their hands with one arm while he had me under his other arm. So now it was time to execute the last step of the plan. On Sunday night, I made another profile online. I took every screenshot of every secret and every picture that nearly made me barf, and I posted them online. The next day, Peter showed up to school wearing a black hoodie, trying to blend in the crowd. But who could ignore the Peter? He was a head taller than everyone else after all. I waited by my locker for him. Jenny, how could you? I told you everything. I let you in. I trusted you with stuff I barely trust myself with. I thought you loved me. I can't believe you did this, he shouted at me. Well, I slammed my locker door shut. Thin line between love and hate, right? He looked at me in disbelief. What's wrong? I said rhetorically. You really thought you had a chance with me? With me? I watched his face fall as I walked away with Beth and Lainey, enjoying the sweet sound of people laughing at Peter.